Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here to break down the new Modern Warfare 3 Zombies Season 1 content coming in a week's time. I'm going to be playing a little bit of one of the greatest zombies maps of all time, Durries, featuring the Unblown Up Moon. Let's get straight into some of the features that are coming though. They've just put out a trailer. I've done a whole breakdown for it on my channel. They've just put out a blog post. We're going to be talking about the blog post today. There's a bunch of stuff that's leaked. We're going to be talking about what's in the leak as well. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be packed into this video, okay? So, to begin with, there is a new story act coming. We've known that there were going to be new story acts on the way. What I can confirm is that the story acts are going to persist, so you won't have to finish Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 before Season 1 comes out. Like, you will still have access to that content in Season 1, so the rush, thankfully, is kind of reduced. I know some players were kind of panicking about that, but they say that there's going to be a new story act, and the story act is going to revolve around a new gateway that has appeared inside the exclusion zone. So, for those of you that have played through Acts 1 to 3, maybe you watched me stream me beating the worm boss and watching that end cutscene. Maybe you've seen the end cutscenes on my channel. They're linked in the description if you want to watch them. But at the very end of the Act 3 cutscene, we see a massive portal open up in the sky, or a massive rift open in the sky, in very kind of like Stranger Things kind of vibe. And it seems like that is gonna point towards this massive portal that's opened in the exclusion zone. And when you investigate that area, that's gonna lead to the Dark Ether rifts. Then when you go into the rifts, they're gonna be a labyrinth-like experience. So I like the idea of them being something that you have to really work hard to learn, almost like a Destiny raid. I think that could be a really, really sick experience, especially seeing as Destiny's really suffering right now. Bungie's really kind of fumbled, I think, the bag that they had with the player base in that game. And if you want me to cover that on the channel, I was talking to Bife actually about it the other day on Twitter. I could totally do a little podcast with Bife or something at some point if you guys would be interested in that. But anyway, especially with that game being in a bit of a state right now, it'd be cool to get some really raid-like experiences in zombies. I think that would be awesome. This says that it will challenge squads to a series of objectives in a given time. So you're going to have 30 minutes inside each rift, and presumably there will be some contract-like experiences within them. So it's not going to be an Easter egg kind of experience. It's going to be very much driven by those missions and those contracts. But still, if the environment around us is very stylized, as we've seen in that trailer, and there's more sort of story stuff in there and all sorts of stuff like that, it's going to feel pretty raidy, which I'm excited about. And there's also new wonder weapons coming. There's a new warlord and more. We'll talk about that more as we get through the video here. But first, let's dig into a little bit more detail about the act itself. So the blurb for the act, okay, the sort of setup blurbs for it is as follows. It says, as operators continue to push further into the exclusion zone, a new anomaly appears. Sent to investigate, Operation Deadbolt Strike Team are pulled through to the other side in their first major encounter inside the Dark Ether, which also tells us that there's, missed that shot, there's probably more Dark Ether encounters on the way in the upcoming seasons for this game, which is exciting because I think that they've made the space look absolutely gorgeous, so much better than it did in Vanguard. The new story mission begins the next act of content as well, which I think is a really, really positive change, seeing as before, it kind of felt frustrating to have to grind through so many missions just to get the story stuff, whereas now you get the story stuff and then presumably the missions are gonna kind of follow on from that and be set up by that initial story mission. And this is probably because of the fact that that first story mission is going to introduce the rift, and then we'll be able to run the rift for the missions themselves. Also, just as a heads up, there are going to be new prestige challenges to explore, which I think we already knew, but still good to have the confirmation. And for the rifts themselves, Treyarch have specified here saying they bring rewards to those who brave the challenges. They're otherworldly labyrinths located inside the Dark Ether, where players and their squads will need to find sigils to unlock the rift in the first place and face that level of challenge. So this means that, unfortunately, it may end up feeling quite similar to how Building 21 worked in DMZ. Initially, in Building 21, you needed to have a specific Building 21 keycard, and if the sigils are as rare as the Building 21 cards, it's actually going to be a little bit of a grind in order to actually get into the Dark Ether in the first place. Now, for Building 21, there was a glitch that meant that you could reuse your keycard, which just meant that it was a little bit less of a problem at launch, and I also had a bunch of very kind people in my stream that were donating me Building 21 keycards so I could get in and show the stream what that content was like. So if you'd like to be part of that this time around and donate some sigils so that stream can see what it's all about, then I'd love to have you. I'll be streaming on launch day, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those streams. Treyarch have also given a bit of detail about the new wonder weapon, which is not actually new. It's a remastered, remade version of an old wonder weapon, the VR11 from Call of the Dead, which is a really weird one to add because the VR11 Call of the Dead is quite a bizarre wonder weapon. I'm pretty surprised they're bringing bringing it back, but they say that we're bringing back the VR11. You can turn enemies into allies by shooting them with it. If you shoot zombies, it will transform them into humans or blast humans to mutate them into friendly zombies. So you can use it on mercs now, which I guess is pretty cool. That's a change. As you might expect, transformed humans join you in the fight, drawing the attention of nearby zombies, while transformed zombies will commence their ceaseless hunt for your enemy's flesh. No surprise there. There are new schematics that have been confirmed. So we've got a dog bone schematic, which is going to be a classified schematic. It's going to be legendary, and that is going to be available at launch. You can consume the dog bone to summon the strongest friendly hellhound companion. So it's going to be a tier 3 version of the dog straight away. It will follow you and attack nearby threats until its health runs out, and this Season 1 item can help take the heat off when it's really needed, especially if you're a solo player. That's going to be very useful for you. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about them just turning what is essentially an Easter egg into a schematic. I think that that's kind of weird, but also ultimately it's probably a quality of life improvement for solo players, so I back this one, I think. Another schematic coming is the golden armor plate, which is very weird that they're adding. Consuming the new golden armor plate replaces the armor carrier with plates that automatically repair over time, in addition to providing the user additional damage resistances. We currently don't have a way to earn that in-game, so if this is schematic only, that's bizarre. That's going to be a really weird change for them to make in zombies. So far to date in zombies, the only other example I can think of there being a non-earnable Easter egg reward would be the permanent upgrade that you can get to your character for doing the super Easter egg. And that obviously just gives you like a weapon rarity bump, or it gives you the RK5 in Black Ops 3. And obviously that still comes from a gameplay objective, but so does this. And that's why I'm saying it's sort of technically not earnable in game. I'm hoping that they don't make it so that it's schematic only, but instead there is also an Easter egg you can do or some kind of process so that you can unlock this for yourself in the match. If there isn't, that's kind of crazy. And I think Treyarch are gonna need to give us some goddamn Easter egg quests as well as the cool schematics. But still, an interesting new thing for the community to talk about and try and work through. And the Ether Blade, which was leaked. I talked about in a leak video. It's also been shown in the trailer. It looks pretty cool in the trailer. It's a special throwing knife with infinite ammo and a boomerang-like combat style. After striking an enemy, the Ether Blade locates the next nearest enemy to hit before returning to its operator. So working in a similar fashion to how we've seen the Hell's Retriever and Hell's Redeemer work in the past, except the throwing knife is already crazy OP, and if this is an equipment, like, what exactly is the sort of, like, cooldown gonna be? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. The throwing knife right now is my favorite equipment, so I'm definitely excited to get this, but it sounds like it could be pretty crazy OP in the right hands. Now, all that's coming at launch. There is a mid-season update that's coming, and it's a new warlord called Dokkaebi. And they say, hoping to counter Operation Deadbolt's technological advantage in the exclusion zone, Jack Fletcher, the leader of Terminus, will deploy another of his lieutenants to the battle space in the coming weeks. South Korean-born Dokkaebi will bring with her an intimate understanding of electronic warfare and a fleet of, and you're going to hate hearing this, or at least if you agree with me, you're going to hate hearing this, a fleet of self-programmed autonomous drones ready to wreak carnage on Operation Deadbolt operatives from the skies. I just can't stand there being people with guns in a zombies mode. I don't care about zombies for the modern warfare aspects of it. I care about zombies for the zombies aspects of it. And I get it, like, you're trying to merge the Modern Warfare story with the zombie story, and you're trying to merge the zombies player base with the Warzone player base and all that sort of thing. But personally, obviously, I'm not trying to judge it too hard before it's out, and I've tried it, but I just have pretty strongly held opinions with regards to if I'm being shot in a zombies experience, it doesn't feel like zombies anymore, and I don't like it. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below as well.